Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, sees films, rates them out of 5, stays at home, watches things on various streaming platforms, rates them out of 5, puts them against each other and sees where money has been better spent this week. My name is Tosin and I am the host, based up in the middle of the United Kingdom, a place called Bromsgrove near Birmingham, and joining me as always on the Isle of Wight, Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
Shaun Harris.
Oh, yeah.
And for the first time in what feels like a month, it is our London correspondent, Holiday Nesling.
Hello.
How are we all doing?
Very well.
Yes.
Adjusting to summer, bleeding into autumn.
Winter. Feels like winter.
And
Yes,
yet it's going to be 23 degrees here again next week. So London can't be quite up.
Well, we will see. We will see. The British weather is going to do what the British weather is going to do. And we are all going to sit down and, like proper British people, complain about it. Whatever it does, we will complain about it.
It is traditional.
It is traditional. So let's kick off with what we have seen in the cinema this week. Because I started off this week thinking, there hasn't been that much. But you guys managed to wheedle some things out and find some stuff that I couldn't in my sleep-addled state. So what have we seen in the cinema this week?
Okay, for me, well, we went, myself and Sharon went to see The Critic. It was an unlimited screening, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think it was an advanced screening, with unlimited,
Yeah, so an unlimited advanced screening of The Critic.
Okay.
And I went and saw Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Bearing in mind, I've never seen the first one, so...
That was going to be my first question, actually. It was going to be my first question is, have you seen the first one? Because that's one of those films, that's one of those gaps I have in my film watching sort of thing. I have never seen the original Beetlejuice, which has just come on Netflix, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just come on Netflix. I think they released it because they knew this was coming out. So, all right, cool.
I too have never seen the original.
All right, cool. And I think Holly, I think you have. Ooh, and Holly, I think you have been through a bit of a binge and caught up with a whole bunch of things that we have already seen.
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
I believe so.
But we haven't. None of us have seen The Crow. You are the only one who's seen
Yeah,
The Crow.
The Crow, so we've got The Crow.
Ooh, The Crow.
The Crow, yeah.
So we do have 3 things in cinema this week.
We
do have 3.
Even if I saw The Crow like 3 weeks ago.
Okay, all right. Now, so I'll tell you what, right? I need to run up because somebody's yelling for me to come clean their bum. So I need to run.
Daddy.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that pretty much it?
Could you hear her? I mean, that was exactly.
No,
that
I have learnt the child wail.
that oh my God, that was like having it in stereo. All right, so I'll tell you what. If we can, for the next 5 minutes or so, Holly, I was really, really interested to know what you thought about Blink Twice, because I thought that because I reckon that there was going to be a strata of reactions to it, and so we gave our reactions. You can keep talking. I know I won't be here for about a minute or so, but I will hear it all when I'm editing this thing. So Holly, tell us, Blink Twice, what did you think?
I absolutely loved it. Thought it was superb. Wasn't sure what I would think of it beforehand. I remember that Cinema Buddy Steph had initially said when she'd seen the trailers and things, she thought, and I'd not seen any of them, and then had listened, or she'd listened to some of the reviews, and that it was, being described as a film buff's film, and I thought it was fantastic. I loved the cinematography. The detail was brilliant. The casting was brilliant, and I really want to watch it again.
What did you think about? Because we observed. Well, I observed.
Yeah.
That I think you can tell that it was directed by a woman. I wasn't closely watching the credits at the beginning, so I wasn't aware of it that it was directed by a woman until the very end. And then I thought, actually, some of the imagery in it, I thought, yes, this is. You can tell that it was directed by a woman.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
I think there was discretion in some of the scenes.
Yes,
and the imagery.
And I think you could probably also tell, because it was Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut as well.
Yeah.
So I think you could also tell that it was that they knew the feeling on both sides of the camera, I think, as well. But yeah, I think it had some of the more challenging,
Yeah.
don't have a better word for it, yeah, aspects were, yes, handled. Definitely is quite the right word, but with a subtlety that you sort of didn't, that was a surprise the way it was, that it was handled as it was.
It's quite interesting that you guys, obviously like it. Perhaps it is a female thing, when you said perhaps it is.
Well, I noticed that as well, just some of the imagery, and I knew that some of the imagery, I thought you would not get this in a film directed. It sort of sounds sexist, doesn't it? But there's some imagery I thought you would not get this in a film directed by a man. I don't think they could bear to not suggest more than you actually saw.
Yeah.
Because when we saw it, they had the trigger warning at the beginning, and my friend and I, we looked at each other and said, "Okay, if it gets to be so it's uncomfortable, we'll both leave, and if you want to leave, I'll leave." So we had like this mutual agreement that if it became to that point where you're thinking, "I'm not prepared to watch this," we were going to go. And then we actually found that there was nothing that made us feel like we thought we had to leave.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was anything gratuitous, was there? Or anything like that?
No.
Really, I think sort of delicately, sort of subtly handled. I also found the back end of the film very funny.
Well, so this is the thing because I don't want to go. I will listen back to everything you said because I'm back now. I'll listen back to everything that you said.
I really liked it. I think
I think also the thing. Like Sharon and I both really liked it. I thought that the first half of the film was really intriguing up until the point where they have to explain what's going on, and then almost by necessity, it has to become a different type of film. from the point where they escape, and then that bit I didn't think was as interesting, and I think that there were some bits where there was one particular thing that we mentioned where they take a very competent character and turn that character into a horror movie character.
Switched me right off.
Into a stereotypical horror movie character. Just that was like almost seemingly of necessity. I thought that the final scene of the film. What did you think of the final scene of the film? Because we all said it made no sense. Like it just didn't hold together. The final scene did not hold together.
Oh no, it did to me, and I saw it coming.
Yeah, well, but that's okay. Cool. All right, then in that case, we might have to go and have a chat about this later and say why it held together because I was looking at that going, I have questions. I have practicality questions as to exactly how the heck that works. But but for that later. Now let us go on to things that we have seen at home. What have we seen at home?
Okay. So I've seen. I forgot what I said it was now. It was a TV drama. I forget what it's called. I don't want to call it the right.
Adult material.
Adult material. Yeah, I was going to say something
adult
else.
Material with Keely.
Yeah. Thank you, Tosin.
No problem. And Sharon, you've continued your Walking Dead thing.
Yeah, so I'm happy to sort of do a 1 minute summary of. Yeah, but I've seen the most recent two versions of The Walking Dead. I've seen Daryl Dixon and Dead City. Okay. So they're the last two things I have completed.
Okay, cool.
All right.
In that case, because if we reviewed every single Walking Dead thing, we would be here forever. So I will take your offer of a 1 minute thing. Yeah. I would take your offer of a 1 minute thing. And then Holly, what have you seen?
I have seen The Perfect Couple on Netflix.
Ooh, The Perfect Couple. And I have seen a couple of things.
Perfect Couple, by the way.
The what?
I'm not Randall Kidman.
I mean, come on. Yeah. All right, cool. And I'm going to talk about Dinosaur, which is a half-hour comedy that was on the BBC iPlayer. All right, cool. So we'll do with that, and let us kick off with the thing that I think. Okay, let me have a look at this. Let's see. Let's kick off with. Let's go with what we did. We'll go with the thing that most people have seen at the cinema, and then we'll go down to the thing that the fewest number of people have seen. So let's kick off with The Critic, because this is something that both Sharon and Shaun have seen at the cinema. Sharon, can you take us away and tell us what The Critic's all about?
Yes, The Critic is a character played by Ian McKellen. It is set in the 1930s, between the wars. And his character is a theatre critic in a big London newspaper, and he has been in that role for a long time, 30 plus years. And he has seen the owners come and go, but he has stayed. And he has developed a reputation as someone who can make or break a play by his sort of sometimes pithy remarks. He can basically destroy someone's, not their career as such, but he can certainly close a play down. And so he's got this sort of sphere of influence within this sort of critic's world. He has his own table. He has his own. He's treated like with a certain degree of reverence.
Yeah.
He also has a secret life. He also is a man who is homosexual, and he one of his predilections is public sex environments. And he also has a live-in lover who he calls his secretary. So he is walking the fine line of legality, because at this point, homosexuality is illegal in Britain, and it can end people's careers and destroy their lives still. So he has a secret he is protecting. And whilst he is just doing his job, the previous owner of the newspaper, who had been the owner for many, many years, has died, and his son has inherited his title, the Viscount, and he's also inherited his property and the newspaper. And he is a slightly different character to his father, as in he's a little bit more straight there. One of the plays he's reviewed has got an actress, Gemma Arterton, who has been sort of struggling to find her feet on the stage, and she forms this sort of strange sort of relationship with him. She confronts him about some of his critical reviews, and they sort of get involved in this you want some more chicken? I'll give some more chicken. In a tangled relationship, as it were. And some events happen, and it leads to blackmail. And then there are consequences to this blackmail. And the different people involved in it have all got some secrets they need to protect and things that they want to hide. And all of them have their reasons why they don't want these secrets to be revealed. And so the story, I don't want to give any spoilers, but the story then takes... it's like a snowball effect. Like one event then leads to another event, then leads to another, and then some of there are foreseeable circumstances, but there are also some things that are not foreseen, and so it is a drama within a drama.
Yeah, that was brilliantly put, Sharon. I love it. You're so good at explaining movies without giving away any sort of spoilers. I think it's just, such an admirable thing. I wear my heart on my sleeve, whereas you're much more measured.
Shaun gives like a synopsis of a film, and he's like, well, the ending, the final scene of the the first word Shaun says. So the funny thing I found out about this is, Quentin Tarantino, he always said he was only ever going to make 10 films, and by his count, he's made 9 films. And he released that he had got his final film ready, and the title of the film was The Critic. That was what he was going to make. It was going to be set in Hollywood, run about the Pauline Kael era and everything like that. And then all of a sudden he says, "No, I'm not going to do that anymore for reasons." And then this film comes on. I'm like, this can't be he can't be like, no, another film had the same title, therefore I'm not going to make this film. But that's just the first thing that came to my mind when you guys said you saw the film called The Critic. So Shaun, Sharon has given us the groundwork what this film's about. Give us the emotion. What did you think?
Okay, well, this was total ham up. To me, the acting was just like proper love. He's overacting. I think that was just like a bunch of actors, that so good, real actors. And I mean the situations as well. Just I don't think would have happened. I did speak with Sharon about that, and we're going, I don't think that would have quite gone that way. And to me, this was it was the acting was awful. I mean, I don't know, when you look at that poster and it says thrilling, exceptional, outstanding. Wasn't at all.
Yeah, no, that's the funny thing about this. The funny thing about this is the fact that, like, Shaun, you're saying all this while on Zoom, you have a background that has Ian McKellen's face beside saying thrilling. McKellen and Atherton deliver exceptional performances. Yeah. And Shaun is like rubbish.
and good old Gandalf is the same in everything he does now. He's not. He just. Some
acting ticks, shall we say?
Sure,
Yeah,
I have to admit, I do agree with you on that. I do feel like
thanks, Toes,
I do
thanks.
feel like Ian McKellen is becoming the same in everything he does.
Everything.
I mean, and I don't know, because I mean, maybe it's when you think about the age and you think about the stage that he's gotten to and everything like that. He's probably earned the rights to do that. I mean, I don't know how easy it is for an 80-something-year-old man to be on a film set for God knows how many hours a day, and you probably just fall back on some things. But yeah, it is kind of like when you see Ian McKellen, like the poster for this film makes me feel like I know everything I need to know about Ian McKellen's character in this film.
Yeah. And it was to me, it was like the bit in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf goes into Rohirrim and goes and he's going, "Oh, you let me keep my staff, wouldn't you?" You know, I quite liked him as Gandalf, but
yeah, it's difficult. I think we also found basically whether the problem was the acting or it was miscasting or whether it was just the story, because we both of us had a little chat after the film. There are elements of the story you just don't believe. And if you think, I don't believe that would happen, and I don't believe that character would behave in that way, and I don't believe that would be the consequence of that action. So it didn't join the dots in terms of storytelling. And I found some of the characters thinking, I don't believe that character would do that. Whether that's because they were miscast, because the Viscount was played by Mark Strong, and his character is someone who is he's got a lot going on in his head, hasn't he? He's quite intelligent. He's quite a contained.
He's quite pragmatic, isn't he? He's quite
and then the character, he's got the actual character. The actor is comes across as being quite competent, and together and in control. And yet there's supposed to be this vulnerability, and I didn't see that vulnerability. So I'm thinking the story fails because you're not selling me that, because that character is not giving me that emotion or that aspect of the character.
Yeah.
So I think whether he was miscast is that, because I think he didn't have that vulnerability.
No, that's it. It was a strange how that.
So I think a lot of the characters they just didn't fit.
Went, it's just like that didn't work. And again, same with the Gemma. It just didn't. I don't think she would have done what she did. But
I don't think she would have either. Not the character we saw.
Exactly at the beginning.
You wouldn't do that. So I'm thinking, is it miscasting? Is it the lack of their acting ability to sell but these are normally really competent, good. They can sell a story, but they didn't sell this one to me.
I think it was just them having like just hamming it up, really.
And I'm beginning to feel that Ian McKellen, as we've said, I don't want to hammer it on, sort of really belabor it, but we said this afterwards. We get the feeling that he thinks he's a national treasure. And we don't.
We don't. Exactly.
Acting as if he's like, I'm a national treasure. Don't you love me?
Oh,
and you forgive me, and you can accept this because it's me doing it. We went, no.
Oh, okay. I'm making all these noises because I have thought this about Ian McKellen for years. For well over a decade, because I went to see him in a production of King Lear, and I think it was not at the National. I think it was at the Donmar Warehouse. So and I remember I went to see him at this production, and obviously he did the whole King Lear thing. There was a bit where it was quite well known because his King Lear at some point essentially is naked from the waist down on stage and all that. And at the end, when it came to the bit of it was part of the madness thing. And at the end, when it came to the curtain call, and he comes out and it's everybody, and there's a bit where he sort of stands. He comes out after everybody has come out. And he comes out and he's standing in the middle, and he sort of stands there and he looks at the audience, and he just sort of stands there looking at the audience, and he doesn't acknowledge the audience until people stand up and give him a standing ovation, and then he acknowledges the audience. And I was just sort of sitting down there like, on principle, I am staying sat down. I'm staying sat down because what the heck? So yeah, from that point, I've always thought, I have a feeling Ian McKellen has quite a high opinion of himself. And now let's see, I have quite a high opinion of him as well, but it went a little bit lower that night. So yeah, when you say that you think that, I'm like, oh, it's not just me. I thought it was just me being an idiot. But, okay, maybe I'm not the only one who has this point of view. All right, so how many stars would we give the Critic?
2.
2. All right, cool.
Wow.
A rare moment of consensus. Rare moment of consensus on this. All right, cool. So that is 2 stars for the critic. Cinema getting off us to a flying start, and now we go over to a show on the BBC called Dinosaur. And this is a show that is set in Glasgow, and it's set around a woman who happens to work in like the Glasgow, I'm not sure that they have a natural history museum, but whatever it is, essentially Glasgow's version of the natural history museum. So she works with fossils, she works with dinosaurs, and she is autistic. And this is like a big part of her story is that she's autistic, she's on the spectrum, and she sort of struggles to understand cues. She struggles to to interact socially, and so she keeps her world quite small and quite ordered because she knows this is what I want to do. The actress who plays her is autistic, so this is a lot of her life experiences coming to the show, and then her sister, who she lives with and is almost kind of like her support person, shows up one day and says, "I met this guy like 2 weeks ago. We're gonna get married," and it's all about what happens and how it throws her world off kilter because she's like, "No, that's not the way things are supposed to be. This is supposed to be here. That's supposed to be there. This is supposed to happen. I don't like change," and it's one of these shows where, hang on a second. So I'm fighting with somebody who is trying to play with my laptop as I am speaking. Kemi, leave it alone. Leave it alone. And because of that, I haven't even set my timer. So it's one of these shows where when you feel as if someone is writing from experience that they actually know. They've lived through this. And so this is what it's actually like. And it's a very sort of, not quite warts on all, but it's very just, not basic, what's the word? Matter of fact. It's very matter of fact about autism. It's very matter of fact of what it's like for somebody like this trying to deal with the rest of the world. It's very matter of fact of the fact that even she, being autistic, knows that she is a problem for other people. She knows that she's a problem for her family. But I think it does all of this in the characters, and it does all of this in the comedy, because the guy who she's getting married to is a bit of what do they call them? The kind of people who wear skinny jeans, always wear some hat that's ill-fitting for their head, and hang around in cafes. Holly, they're around in Camden.
Beatniks? No,
they're kind of like modern beatniks. Holly, what are they called?
A word that I know completely and would use regularly, and I now can't think of.
Yeah, no, I cannot think of it. I cannot think of what the word is. But anyway, he's one of those words, and he's like, he's always talking about, I'm going to make you pasta that I've made directly from Firenze when I went around Firenze and all that kind of stuff. And she's just like, there's a whole thing where they meet his dad for the first time, and she's fixated.
Yes,
hipster. That's the word. I can't believe I blanked on hipster. But there's a whole bit where they meet his dad for the first time, and she is fixated. She is fixated on the fact that his glasses are so tiny. But her sister has told her, "You're not allowed to be yourself. Don't ask all these questions. Don't do this. Don't do this." And there is actually there's a subplot, a quite significant subplot, which I thought that you would like about this, about her getting offered a job on the Isle of Wight. Because obviously dinosaur fossils and all that kind of stuff are going for a dig on the Isle of Wight. And I actually thought this was quite good. I thought it was quite cool. I thought it was because I know I've always felt like there's a thing with when you meet up with an autistic person. I've always said that if I'm going to work with an autistic person, I would like to know, because you know how sometimes people just want to step on eggshells around it and just sort of say you can't say anything. And I'm like, no, I want to know, because then I know what to do. And I felt like this was a show in which somebody was just kind of saying, yeah, this is what it's like being autistic, but this is just life. I'm living life as normal. I'm going through all these things as normal. It just happens that I'm autistic. I'm having to deal with all these things while I'm autistic. And I thought it was quite good. I thought it was quite funny. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. But I would recommend anybody watch Dinosaur. If not only reason because remember when we used to do we did a podcast and a radio show, which was based in the hospital on the Isle of Wight, and we had a section called "I Love Movies," where we talked about things where the Isle of Wight got a mention on TV or on film. And this would definitely have been one of those things, because they keep talking about the Isle of Wight and of how she there's a bit about having to move from Glasgow to the Isle of Wight, and there's a bit where it's kind of like a rom-com just with an autistic person in it, because there's a bit where she sort of like has a relationship, or there's a possibility of her having a relationship with somebody, and there's a whole setup about how going on a date, and there's a first date because she's never been on a date, and the family are like, "Nina, you're going on a date," and all that. So it's actually I like Dinosaur a lot. I would recommend it. I would give Dinosaur a 3 out of 5. And now we go back to cinema and we talk about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. So, seeing now, as I said earlier, this is one of those things, like, it's one of those holes in my film watching thing where everybody seems to think that, you've seen Beetlejuice. And I've never seen Beetlejuice. Sharon, you've seen Beetlejuice.
I've seen it.
I think you're the only one of us who's actually seen the original Beetlejuice.
The only one of the four, yeah. And I saw it when it was released. So whenever it was released, that's when I saw it.
It would have been 1988, I believe, because it was released the year.
Right then.
It was released the year before Batman, and because there was a big furore when they cast Michael Keaton as Batman, because they were like, "What? Beetlejuice? You're gonna cast Beetlejuice as Batman? How does that work?" So yeah, there was a whole thing about that. So, but okay, Sharon, all I need to know then is, from your point of view, does Beetlejuice deserve the sort of cult following, or the sort of hallowed place it has in people's hearts?
For me, it didn't. I mean, I certainly watched it because I was a film fan then, and we would have video nights because we'd go down to our video shop and rent 2 or 3 videos, proper VHS videos, and we'd have an evening of it. And I remember that was probably one of our video night film. And so I watched it, but yeah, to me it wasn't a standout film. I knew at the time people raved about it, but it didn't throw me to bits.
All right, cool. And
I've heard a couple of people say that.
And seeing as we've had that wonderful, wonderful intro, Shaun, tell us about Beetlejuice.
Okay, Beetlejuice. So basically,
I think maybe not so much the storyline, but more like just what was your experience coming to it like, not having seen the first one?
I mean, I was aware of the other one, obviously, with Michael Keaton and all that. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to go into this. This had me in stitches. I was physically in stitches at this film. It was such a pleasure. It really, really was. I was even making other people laugh that were in there as well, and they were laughing. It was just, I found it really, really hilarious. And
oh wow,
there's some, yeah. I mean,
of all the things I expected, that was not it.
No. Well, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be really, really bad. But they do these. I don't know if they did it in the original one, but they do like these montages where it's like, they start bursting into sing, and they all sort of freeze and all start mouthing to the words.
There is I've never seen the first Beetlejuice, but I know there's a very famous scene done to "Daylight Come and Me Wanna Go Home."
Right. Well, in this one, they've got "MacArthur Park is waiting in the dark." Someone left my cake out in the rain, and I was in stitches because they all sort of freeze, and then they sort of mouth the words and all look at each other like that. And yeah, it was really funny. I don't know if these other characters in it, but there's like loads of like secretaries with little small heads.
The shrunken heads.
Yeah. The first one.
And they open like one of the side stories is obviously, I'm not sure the name, but the daughter.
Well, because you have Winona Ryder, who plays a character called Lydia, who was the daughter in the first film.
Lydia,
and she now has a daughter who's played by Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's a scene in this where there's a couple of other guys, and something happens to the Jenny Ortega character, and there's like this young lad that's really, really, should we say, flirty and that, and she sort of likes him and that, but he's not all he's cracked up to be, sort of thing. So, and then it goes into like the Netherworld. He goes, "Oh, you can't go. Oh, you'll have to take the line. Sorry," like that. And he goes, "Oh, I want to go into," and they got like tickets and stuff. So, and there's all different people that have got things sticking out of them, and it was just, oh yeah. And they've got like, there's a villain in it that wants to marry Beetlejuice. She's a soul sucker. Yeah, she's a soul sucker. So you can imagine what happens when. And Danny DeVito's in it early on. Is it Danny DeVito? And I'm like, nah, is that? And he goes, yeah, it is.
It sounds like a Tim Burton reunion of just bringing up.
Wow, perhaps it is, but yeah, but that just made me laugh. So that was right at the real start when the soul sucker gets sort of put together, should we say? And then he's like, "You shouldn't be here," and it just made me laugh. And I just really, really had so much fun. And I was, as I say, I went to an early showing because I went straight after work, and there were a couple of people either side of me, and they were laughing as well. So I mean, I was totally surprised because I thought I was going to be, this is just not going to be for me. It's going to be so stupid. It is very slapstick, but for me, I reckon for a good 2 minutes of MacArthur Park, I was laughing my head off because
Sure.
when they're sat in pews and things, they just sort of stare at each other like we're surprised. MacArthur Park. Brilliant.
Okay,
yeah.
you see, that's Shaun. Somebody who has never seen. I actually have it on my watch list because it's now, as I said, it's now on Netflix. It's been put out on Netflix now. I've never seen the original, but this actually makes me quite happy because there were a couple of times when they announced this film, I was like, oh my god, no, another cash grab. Oh my god, Tim Burton's lost it because it's been a while since I've really sort of like liked a Tim Burton film, and so for you to say this, I'm happy that at least that they seem to have nailed something about it. So okay,
I'm a bit worried though because a lot of people have told me the first one is not particularly good, so I'm worried that I might not even bother to watch that and just.
It'll make a good comparison thing.
Okay,
it'll make a good comparison thing.
I'll have to do that.
But okay. So if nobody else has any other questions, how many stars?
I'm going to give this one a 4. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time in this movie, which really, really, perhaps because I wasn't expecting a good time, and I just really enjoyed it. But that scene, that MacArthur Park scene, I was in rolling. I was like rolling. Someone left it. You can imagine, the lyrics that someone left the cake out in the rain. It's just like
it's an awful song.
That is an awful song, but it's so good as a parody. It was, it just worked.
Okay, you see, I need to go find out what this song is now. But although one thing I found out earlier this week was it last week? I can't remember. Was that apparently Winona Ryder had so much affection for the first film that she had it written into her Stranger Things contract that if ever a sequel to Beetlejuice came up, she was allowed to leave. That she had to be given the time off to go make a sequel to Beetlejuice, and that was the only she had it written to her contract. I was like, I don't care any other job, but if they come up with a Beetlejuice sequel, I'm off. I'm leaving you guys in your upside down nonsense. I'm off.
Lauren Graham has that for Gilmore Girls.
Does she?
Mm-hmm. Anytime there's a Gilmore Girls thing, she can run from whatever she's doing.
Okay, and I just had a really, really, really mean thought because I haven't seen Lauren Graham in anything for a while, but I'm gonna move on. And I'm gonna move on. So let us go back to Netflix and stuff, and let us talk The Perfect Couple. So, Holly, talk to us about The Perfect Couple, in which Nicole Kidman, I know it has Nicole Kidman in it, and she does seem to be making a habit of playing a whole bunch of really privileged, rich white women. So, it seems like every time she's on TV, that's what she's playing.
Well, she is undoubtedly playing a very, privileged white woman in this. So the film begins with a family, of the gathering for a wedding in, I think it's Hyannisport. Or no, it's not. It's the other one where.
Cape Cod?
Yes, it's where Jaws is set.
All right, okay, yeah.
But not Amity Island. And a reasonably young, fairly normal woman is marrying the son of this incredibly wealthy family, where Nicole Kidman is the matriarch, who sounds uncannily like Gillian Anderson, which is quite different there. And Liev Schreiber is her.
Sorry, after a question. Gillian Anderson American or Gillian Anderson English? Because she has 2 accents.
Gillian Anderson English.
All right, cool.
Very Gillian Anderson English. Like, uncannily, if you shut your eyes, you would genuinely think it was Gillian Anderson English talking. Yeah. And she has. Her character is very English, and she had married Liev Schreiber, who is the scion of a wealthy dynasty. They have 3 sons and live in this very beautiful, very fancy house where they have a wonderful housekeeper called Gosha who cooks them wonderful food, including pierogi, and everybody is there, including their son and soon-to-be daughter-in-law's friends, for a wedding. And it becomes apparent early on in the first episode that somebody is dead.
Ooh. And
you do not find out until the end of the first episode whom that person is. But in the build-up to that outcome, you all sorts of relationships become apparent. The old family friend who is, French and flirts with everybody. The daughter-in-law played by
Dakota Fanning.
Yes, thank you very much. Who is clearly very, very stuck up, but not from such a privileged family or privileged background. The maid of honor, who is the bride's best friend from forever, and the best man, who is clearly a good friend of the groom's brothers, one of whom is quite annoying and the other of whom is much younger.
So far, so kind of like Agatha Christie people, and what I'm guessing is quite a big, lovely, well-to-do house.
Yes, all very beautiful by the beach. There, it's every sort of, fancy modern wedding that you can imagine, with a pre-wedding party and choreographed dancing for the video.
Although I think I've figured out who the dead body is. It's Gillian Anderson. Nicole Kidman killed her and took her place, which is why she sounds exactly like her.
That is
got it. Cracked it.
Precisely what happened.
I shall twirl my Poirot moustache and walk off into the distance.
You have got it. So they, at various points through that episode, you start having people speaking to the police. You know very quickly that the bride is very much still alive. And various people start sort of commenting on other people and making their views known about whether or not they like them, what they really think of them. And the series progresses with the unpicking of the mystery and how did the person die? Why did the person die? Was it an accident? I mean,
and this has a feel of a lot of shows that we have now that could be subtitled "Aren't the Rich Awful?" And
yes, it could. And there are twists and turns, and you don't know quite what everybody's motivations are, or all their actual backgrounds. But front and center of it, you have the perfect couple, Nicole Kidman and Liv Schreiber, and she is an author who writes gazillions of wonderful books, and they are clearly so publicly madly in love with each other. Mm-hmm. And they are the perfect couple.
Oh, this doesn't sound like there's anything wrong there whatsoever.
Exactly, and everything radiates forth from their relationship into the world around how it all unfolds. It is 8 episodes of thoroughly watchable TV. I watched it in one night.
I figured because this has been out like 3 days or something.
I watched it last week, so I watched it last Friday.
Yeah. I think it has not been out that long, and when you said you weren't the perfect couple, I was like, what the? I was like, my first thought was, I thought that was a TV show, not a film. And I thought, oh no, she's done it.
I did it. I literally back to back, all 8 episodes in a row. It is thoroughly watchable.
All right.
It is enjoyable. It is not profound. Some of it you guess, some of it you don't guess. It is not transformative. It is not wildly clever, but it is enjoyable watching.
I was just about to say, you're telling us a lot about what it's not. Like, it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. It's not good, but it's fun. How many stars would you give it?
I'm going to give it a solid 3. It was a fun watch. It was an enjoyable watch, and I was really interested to find out what happened.
Okay.
And I think, Sharon, you would probably enjoy it for at least some of the silliness.
Yeah, it was on my watch list.
Silly. I watch it. I'd be really interested to hear what you think of it. But yeah, it's a fun watch.
Sorry, my wife's come home and all of a sudden there's a lot of crying. I'm just gonna be a very, very good dad and close the door. So, All right, okay, now we go back to cinema and stuff. And Holly, you saw The Crow. The only one of us who's managed to see The Crow. Tell us about this.
Did. The Crow is a remake of the 1980 classic film of the same name, which has a significant reputation as being, I won't say sort of haunted or anything, but is renowned for the fact that Brandon Lee died whilst filming it. So so automatically The Crow comes with baggage. The premise of the film is a young man who has a history of poor, life decisions and I think drug use and so on, who meets a young woman who comes from a wonderfully privileged background, who also has a history of poor life decisions and drug use. And she has had a terrible experience involving evil people and elements of the supernatural. And the end result is, spoiler, you find it right out at the start, she ends up dead.
I don't think that's a spoiler. That is the premise.
That is the entire premise of the film.
That's the entire premise of The Crow.
Yeah,
I think it would. They're making a Maverick one if it turns up and the woman isn't dead at the beginning of The Crow.
They're not dead. Both of them end up. I think it's safe to say both of them end up dead.
Yes. Yeah.
And he is sent back to avenge her and to right wrongs. And as such, it goes on a mission to find and punish all of the dreadful people involved in both their murders, but predominantly hers.
Yeah.
A beautifully stylistic film. He is played by
Bill Skarsgård,
and she is played by F.K. Twigs.
Mm-hmm.
They are both very beautiful people,
which
I feel is quite, key to it. And it is a very beautiful film. It's stylistic. It utilizes this wonderful imagery of a crow flying around the place with him, and in various places they use light beautifully. The cinematography is quite haunting.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. I was kind of waiting for it to finish.
Because the longer you went, it's this and it's nice, and I'm there's a big but. There's a big but coming up.
I was kind of bored. It was the third film in the day we'd seen, admittedly.
Yep.
We'd already seen Quiet Place Part 1 and Blink twice beforehand. So
a nice easygoing fare.
Yeah. And all I could think is, this is beautiful, but I sort of don't care.
But dull.
But it's a bit dull, and it feels like it's been going on for a really long time, even though it's not that long a film.
Yeah.
It's like an hour 50 or something, and I found myself desperately wanting to check my watch to see how much longer it was going to go on for.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, and I wanted to absolutely love it. But I'm not sure that it's a film that needed remaking.
Yeah.
And because the original was fantastic, and there was a sort of poetry to it.
Well, so this is the thing, because of the Brandon Lee Crow, and because of growing up as a Bruce Lee fan, and I remembered being a Bruce Lee fan, I went and heard that, okay, Bruce Lee died young, but he has a son, and his son's making movies now, and so I was like totally in the tank for that. And like Brandon Lee's movies, Big Trouble in Little China, probably a terrible film. I love it because it has Brandon Lee in it. And then when you heard everything that happened on the first Crow with Brandon Lee and him dying, I remember watching that film afterwards, and just in my head, it being a brilliant film. I have not gone back to watch it, and it probably might not be objectively a brilliant film, but I don't care. It's a brilliant film, and in my head, it's like, it's untouchable. It's like, if you're going to make this film again, do not dare sully the memory of Brandon. That kind of...
I think that's how I feel about it as well, like, without quite the same level of attachment, but the film is kind of sacrosanct. You know, films where somebody died whilst filming it, that's a big deal. That it's sort of it, but it becomes kind of their eulogy.
But you know, they have already made a couple of terrible sequels to The Crow.
Yes.
So
it's... But somehow a terrible sequel is different to a remake.
Who played the Crow? It was someone quite, but from the trailer.
It's Bill Skarsgård.
It was Bill Skarsgård.
From the trailer,
he was wasn't he? He was Pennywise in the It films.
The trailer in this film just totally. Trailers are supposed to attract you. The trailer for this film just put me totally off it. I was totally wouldn't even bother with it from that trailer.
It's really beautiful and very gory. Very gory.
Yeah.
There were moments where even I went, "Oh, that's a bit unnecessary." All right.
Yeah.
And I hide behind, cushions for all sorts of things, but blood and gore, that's not a problem. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Well, the thing is, I agree with Shaun. I mean, I worried about this film because they've been trying to make this film for years. There have been so many people who've been hired, and then it's gotten to the point where they're building sets, and the film just doesn't happen. And so when they said they were actually going to make The Crow, I was like, okay, cool, good. And then I saw the trailer, and Shaun, just like you, I was like, oh no, I think they've biffed it. Because and for me, the main thing was the makeup of the Crow itself, the makeup of Bill Skarsgård in the film. I just kind of thought, that looks what? That looks like
there's a bit in
emo
the trailer
kid,
where he
emo
goes
goth.
He goes. There's a bit in the trailer, and it's I don't know if it's a spoiler, but he goes, "Oh, you don't know about death or something about hardness or something like that," and he goes, "Oh, but I do." Sort of thing. That's in the trailer, but and I just thought, what?
Yeah, also,
but I do.
Also, the trailer of this looked so similar to another Bill Skarsgård film that's been released in the last year. It's a film called Boy Kills World, and it looks.
What have you seen that, Toes? Has it been released?
I think it was released in places, but
it was. I nearly saw that in Thailand because there was a huge poster for it. I thought, good. And I wish I'd have seen it.
I think it was released here, but it wasn't released in many places. It did not have a wide release.
Okay.
But if you watch the trailer for Boy Kills World, and you watch the trailer for The Crow, for this version of The Crow, I'm like, isn't that the same film? It looks like the same film. So yeah, but anyway, so Holly, how many stars would you eventually give the 2024 Crow?
I will give it a 3 because it was beautiful, and I think the beautifulness deserves recognition.
Okay,
but it's a low end 3. I'm slightly sad about it.
Well, the thing is, I heard an interview with the director of this, Rupert Sanders, on the Empire Film Podcast, and a lot of things that he was saying, I was like, oh dude, it sounds like you don't understand what The Crow's about at all. I was getting some serious Zack Snyder in charge of the DC universe vibes from him. Like, where it's like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm like, okay, I understand that's what you're trying to do, but that's not what this is about at all.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Okay,
that's what you want to do, but just don't do that.
Go do something else. Leave this alone. All right, and now let's get on to a final thing on Netflix and Friends, and this is adult material. I believe this was on Netflix, Shaun.
It was on not on Netflix. This was on Amazon.
On Amazon.
On Amazon Prime, yeah.
Now, is this a film or a TV series?
No, it's a TV series, 4 episodes. I believe it did. On the credits, it came up Channel 4, so I think, or something like that. So it may have been.
This has been out for years. It has been.
We haven't reviewed it, have we?
Oh no, we've never reviewed it.
Okay, so this was years, when you get the list of things you may like. So listen, I thought, I'll see what that is, and I put it on, and I ended up doing a Holly, but it was. Funny enough, I ended up doing a binge of watching all 4 episodes, and I reckon, like we went back to Blink Twice, I reckon this must have been directed by a lady, because there is a bit of suggestive stuff, but there's no what we'll call gratuitous stuff.
Especially because because the main character in adult material is a porn star or a former porn
star.
Yeah.
So basically, she's in the adult entertainment business, and something happens. So she does this. She's got a family of 3. She's got a boyfriend. She's trying to juggle. She pays for her daughter to go to a private school, and so she does it because she's like, she sort of makes a lot of money from it. And then there's this one incident where she's really tired. She's been on set, and this new girl comes, and she goes, says to the producer and whatever, mate, you're going to look after her. You're going to look after her, aren't you? Definitely going to look after her. Yeah, we'll look after her. Don't let. And something happens, and she starts to feel all this guilt because she wasn't there to look after this newbie. So that's like one of the episodes. There's all this stuff, and something happened in America, which sort of comes out a bit later on. But also there's one of the other episodes, there's this like counselor who's very on the TV show, but she's got something on her computer that is, well, it's not her, but they think it's her husband first of all. They say, your husband's at work, find that, and she goes, no, that's mine. So it's very much but this as I say, it was really, really well acted. I mean the actress who played
Hayley Squires,
Hayley Squires, was just so convincing as someone who's trying to juggle a family, And I mean, in the end, this one thing happens, and she has to sell a car and daughter, that because things come out obviously if they're on, things. So going, oh yeah, that's your mum and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all like
it's kind of like a ticking bomb in all situations.
Soap drama, yeah, and so this counsellor that sort of describes, she's a lawyer, and she decides to help out. And it's really quite emotional, to be fair. I mean, there's one bit where she actually breaks down, and just thinking about it now, I mean, this was, as I say, it was just really, really well done. Really, really, emotional and believable, and the acting was great. The acting was, Phil Daniels pops up in it as like the sleaze. He's not so good. He's, Phil Daniels, the quadrophenia. He's the same. But yeah, and it's quite sad, and it's quite emotional, because it doesn't end particularly happy. I mean, it doesn't end in disaster or anything like that, or anyone nasty happening. But it's, because obviously someone who works in an industry like that is not going to be believed. You know what I mean? When it comes to court things, it's going to be. So there's a big court case, and lots of things come out, and she's like really in your face. She's like, she's
unapologetic. She's unapologetic.
Yeah, she's unapologetic, and she says to the judge, like when she's in the thing, and you can see the judge is quite sympathetic, but because of the way it's going, and because the producers have got major lawyers, basically she's, and it's like, So Shaun, I'm guessing that this was raved about when it came out. Oh, was it? Yeah.
It was raved about when it came out, and it's one of the things that's always kind of like keeps popping up as, you might want to watch this, and I keep going, yeah, eventually one of these days. It's probably been out about 7 years or something like that.
Is it? So it's quite old.
Yeah. So it sounds like you agreed with all the raving that this happened. So how many stars did you give it?
I'll give this one a 4. Yeah, 4. It was a binge watchy one. As I say, it's a bit. I don't know if the word's harrowing. Probably not harrowing, but it's quite emotional, and I was quite surprised.
It's Channel 4. They have a habit of doing things that are so realistic and down to earth, and
it felt. That's it exactly. It felt realistic. It really, really did feel.
Gritty.
Gritty. Yeah, it's quite gritty. Yeah. And I mean, there's some obviously some light-hearted moments in it, which there would be, but it was just a believable thing the way it could happen. And, I mean,
it's funny because I think my brother, I always speak about my brother and how he has this whole idea about how he thinks American show, everybody, good things happen. British show, bad things happen. People die.
Things happen. Yeah.
So I think like when it's Channel 4, you always have a feeling that it might have. It's Channel 4. It's British. It's gonna go along those lines. You always feel it'll be good. It'll be award winning and acclaimed, but it'll go along those lines. So you say 4 stars for adult material.
Yeah. She certainly convinced me as someone who's being that sort of, really brash, so vulnerable, but Do you know what I mean? It's like doesn't show the vulnerabilities, and it's just like, oh yeah, but white love. Oh, I can't quite do that accent, but that type of thing.
Yeah, Hayley Squires is somebody who, I mean, I don't see her in a lot.
Right.
Every time she's in something, people always rave about her. And I always makes me wonder, where did she come from? But anyway, and for ages, I confused her with Keely Hawes. I just, not that they look alike or that anything like that. It's just the fact that they both have an H in their name, and it was stupid. But anyway, so that is 4 stars. So all that is left to go is to say, who do you think has won this week, Netflix or cinema?
I think Netflix and Friends probably.
Yes, because I think
the critic failed miserably. The critic went down.
That is kind of ironic.
It might have been balanced out by Beetlejuice, because I had a good time in that. So I've seen something that's really, really good fun and something that's like really, really serious. So,
well, I will tell you that after 2 rounds, so after we talked about 2 things on cinema and 2 things on Netflix, it was a dead heat. It was a dead heat. And then with the last couple of things that we saw, it turns out that The Crow was just not beautiful enough. It was just not beautiful enough. Whereas Adult Material was a bit of a dark horse for Shaun. So yes, it is Netflix by a hair's breadth. Netflix and Friends take it this week by a hair's breadth. So, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for telling me all about the stuff. And I don't think we have enough time to talk about Walking Dead, Dead City. So, like the zombies they are, they live to talk another day.
we do a quick one on that, I expect. I mean, because I'll try and catch up with them, Sharon, because I'd like to see them.
Yeah, it's only going to be a couple of minutes tops.
All right, cool.
We're on Sky, yeah.
We will kick off. We'll kick off with that next week. So, and we will find something else to see in the cinema, because I mean, to be honest with you, I started off this week. I thought my intro was going to be how there's nothing in the cinema, and then we have 3 things to talk about. I'm like, how did that happen?
I think there's something on tomorrow.
I'm hoping to see Lee.
Oh yes, Kate Winslet, Kate Winslet, the biopic of the photographer, the war photographer.
I'm looking forward to the Joker.
Yes.
You know, Shaun, as much as I hated the first film, this second one looks intriguing. I think the second one, I actually feel like it might be a case that people who really like the first one might hate the second one. They might hate the second one. And so people who did not like the first one, like me, I'm like, well, this looks interesting. I think this looks intriguing. I'm seeing some of the things they're doing, and I think I like it. I think I like what I've seen so far.
So I thought the first one was overrated.
100%.
I loved it.
100%.
Murray, you're horrible.
You see, Max thinks the same.
Yeah. You see now, Max's face. Max is one of Holly's cats, and he has a beautiful, a wonderful, unimpressed face. And his face was mine throughout the entire thing while I was watching Joker. But Joker, Folie à Deux, the second film, I think this looks intriguing, and I'm like, okay, I like the fact that they're going on a different. I like what they're doing with it, and we shall see. But anyway, until that time, it will be a goodbye from me.
It'll be a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from Max and me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.